She looked peaceful in her sleep, but at the window a shadowy face leaned closer, studying her unborn child like prey it had already claimed. In the coastal province of Capiz, in the central Philippines, there is a story people still refuse to tell in daylight. It begins the way many horrors do, quietly, with a young couple, a first pregnancy, and a village that pretends the old legends are dead. For the people of the Visayas, the Aswang is not just a monster, it is a word for everything that hunts the helpless in the dark. In stories from Capiz, it walks like an ordinary neighbor by day, selling fish or rice in the market, then changes at night into something with a stretching spine, a long, needle-thin tongue, and an endless hunger for blood and unborn children. Maria had lived in that village her whole life and never believed the stories. Until, in her 5th month of pregnancy, the dogs began howling at nothing. Her husband woke to the sound of wings beating above their roof, and her mother found a line of wet footprints on the bamboo stairs that ended in the middle of the air. What Maria didn't know was that someone in her own family had already bargained with the Aswang. In Capiz, they say a hunger like that does not come without a price, and sometimes the price is another life in the same house. Maria did what anyone raised between church and superstition might do. She stopped going out at night, kept a rosary under her pillow, and hid garlic and salt under the bed. But she also told herself, over and over, that it was all in her head. So when her neighbor, the fish seller with the too wide smile, offered to stay the night to help watch over her, Maria said yes. Let me tell you what the Aswang actually does, because the stories people post online, they always leave this part out. At night, the Aswang splits its life in two. In some stories, its upper body tears away from its lower half and flies into the sky, dragging its entrails behind like rope. In others, it stays whole but its spine lengthens, its limbs stretch, and its tongue thins into a long tube that can slide through the smallest gap in a roof. It circles the houses of the sick and the pregnant, listening for the slow breathing of someone who cannot run, then drinks, not with teeth, but with that hollow tongue, carefully, so the family only finds a pale body in the morning and calls it a mysterious illness. In the late 20th century, in towns across Capiz and neighboring provinces, families reported hearing that same tick-tick on their roofs, nights in a row. Some blamed birds, others blamed bats. But in the retellings, they all remembered the same detail. When they hung garlic and placed salt along the windows, the sounds moved to someone else's house. On the night Maria finally went into labor, the tick-tick returned. Her husband scattered salt across the windows, hung garlic at every corner of the room, and placed a buntot paji, a dried stingray tail, by the door, because the elders said no Aswang could cross it. Outside, something heavy landed on the roof. The tongue slid through the bamboo again, and this time it hit salt. The scream that followed was not human. It was something that had forgotten how to sound like one. By dawn, the roof was empty. The neighbor who had offered to watch Maria was gone. Her stall in the market never opened again. On the bamboo stairs, they found a smear of dark blood that stopped halfway down and a single footprint facing the wrong way. In Capiz and across the Visayas, the Aswang is still part of how people talk about danger, illness, and the things that visit in the middle of the night. Parents warn their children not to wander alone after dark, not because they truly expect wings and tongues in the sky, but because the idea of a monster wearing a neighbor's face never really left. If this story found you at night, you already know why. Subscribe to Lovilborn, and in the next tale, we travel to Haiti, where the Lugawu walks under the same moon wearing borrowed skin.